First off, thank you for the kind invitation to speak to you today. And thank you for your interest and involvement in the monolithic task of redistricting the great state of California. Obviously, just by the fact that you're here today and active members of the esteemed Orange County Association of California Cities, you've proven yourselves as involved citizens in making a difference for your community, whether that be limited to here in Orange County or more macro. And because of that, I'm very grateful for specifically your time today as I speak on behalf of the Commission to say, we need your help. I'm here to discuss a very important way for you to speak up and be heard to help ensure that you are fairly represented in state democracy. As you know, one of the most powerful ways you can influence the community you live in is through voting. Voting is a formal expression of what is important to an individual, a family, a city, a state, or a nation. Voting is power. Of course, that is presuming that your vote counts equally. And many believe that political manipulation, allowing politicians to choose their voters instead of voters choosing their representatives, has muted the power of the individual vote. Abuse of redistricting is nearly as old as districts themselves. The term gerrymandering dates back to 1812, when one party in Massachusetts redrew state senatorial districts for political gain, and a newspaper editor, observing that one of the new districts looked like a salamander, dubbed it a gerrymander, after the state's governor, Elbridge Gerry. Over the years, gerrymanders have taken different forms. Political actors have used racial gerrymanders to dilute the votes of minorities. They've used partisan gerrymanders to solidify political control for one party, and bipartisan gerrymanders to ensure that incumbent members of both major political parties are protected. Gerrymandering is America's best kept secret. It has effectively disenfranchised the majority of voters, and most don't even know it. But what they do know is that our country's infrastructure is crumbling, our economy is cratered, and our government is broken. Our ability to address problems of such magnitude is directly affected by the arcane rules of redistricting, which determine who gets elected and who gets represented. Gerrymandering provides politicians a legal way to control election outcomes for decades at a time. After the 2000 census, one party in California controlled both the legislature and the governorship. And with the help of partisan consultants, they gerrymandered districts so successfully that only 5 of the state's 692 legislative and congressional elections held in the years since have changed hands in party control. That's right, only 0.7% of elections over the last 10 years actually changed party hands. Some argue that's far more than safe districts. That's a safe state. The good news, right now in California, a historic experiment is taking place. For the very first time, a fully independent Citizens Redistricting Commission has been given the power through propositional mandate to create all the boundaries governing California's congressional, state senate, state assembly, and state board of equalization districts to reflect the new census population data through redistricting. The actual goal of redistricting is to make sure that every person has one vote and that each one of those votes is equally weighted. Districts are created by drawing lines that safeguard the communities that live within them and ensure that communities can elect representatives of their choice that are responsive to their needs. The outcome of redistricting has a daily effect on individual communities, from how much funding their schools and hospitals receive to tax rates, infrastructure, and transportation needs of an area. The impact of redistricting lasts 10 years until districts are recreated after a new national census is completed. Historically, the most fundamentally important function of redistricting the state has been governed by the politicians. Usually a handful of people, mostly behind closed doors, have drawn district lines based primarily around political data. Gerrymandered maps were then presented to the California legislature for a vote, and then we the people are stuck with them for 10 years. This pre-commission process was perceived to have had a number of shortcomings, one of which, less accountability. Gerrymandered maps reduce electoral competition and can virtually assure incumbents re-election. Representatives become less accountable to their constituents as a result. More partisanship. Safe districts enable the election of representatives who need not appeal to moderate voters. Unfair representation. Gerrymanders can give political parties disproportionate influence. Allowing politicians to draw their own districts was and is a serious conflict of interest that harms voters. Perhaps that is why, in California, again over the last 10 years, 99.3% of incumbent parties were re-elected in districts that they drew for themselves. And the last, and perhaps the worst of the negative outcomes is voter apathy. In safe districts, many voters may stay home on election day because they feel their vote will not make a difference. So obviously, politicians draw districts that serve their interests, not yours or those of our cities. For example, cities such as Long Beach, San Jose, and Fresno are divided into multiple oddly shaped districts to protect incumbent legislators. Voters in many communities have no political voice because they have been split into as many as 4 different distinct districts to protect incumbent legislators. We need your voice to keep our communities together so everyone, including Orange County, has accountable and responsive representation. Our goal at the Citizens Redistricting Commission is to put fairness on the map, to ensure that every single election matters. Despite millions of dollars in opposition, 3 times California voters shouted that politics as usual is no longer acceptable when it comes to redistricting. And thanks to the Voters First Act, or Proposition 11, and then later Proposition 20, the people of California mandated the establishment of a fully independent, bipartisan commission of 14 members, 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, and 4 declined to states. Our commission must consider and create districts in conformity with strict, nonpartisan rules designed to draw districts in absolute adherence to federal and state laws. Prop 11 actually lists the legal criteria for the commission and in the order in which they must follow it when drawing these district lines. The 7 criteria are that each district must, first of all, have reasonably equal populations. Secondly, districts must comply with the Federal Voting Rights Act. Third, districts must be geographically contiguous or connected. The 4th criteria is that districts must respect the boundaries of counties, cities, communities of interest, and neighborhoods. 5th, districts, to the extent that there's no conflict with the previously mentioned criteria, should be geographically compacted and nested. 6, districts should not be drawn to favor or discriminate against incumbents, candidates, or parties. And the last criteria is that incumbent addresses may not be considered. So all of the political data that's been used in the past to drive the district lines has been codified up. It's not allowed to be considered in this commission process. Since California is one of the most diverse cultures on the planet, it was also important that the commission reflect the diversity of our unique state. And as a result, commission members come from a myriad of backgrounds, skill sets, and a variety of geographic and socioeconomic backgrounds throughout California. No later than August 15th, the commission must agree and pass the final state maps by a supermajority of 9 members, 3 Republicans, 3 Democrats, and 3 declined states. Unlike other states, as I mentioned earlier, for the first time, there is no further approval process and the legislature has no oversight or input in the outcome of our maps. In our republic, we the people speak through our representatives. Our voices are diminished and silenced if our elected leaders don't listen to us. Because district lines are drawn around political data or to protect incumbency, or because your vote is lumped into a jurisdiction with a town that is 200 miles away, having no shared interests. What I'm telling you today is that if we don't get this issue right of redistricting, then every issue that comes after it is thwarted. Because your and our voice is diminished. So where do you come in? We need your help. We need to raise awareness about the importance of redistricting and urge people to get involved and provide input about how best to preserve and represent Orange County cities and the communities therein. Tell your neighbors about the commission and urge them to get involved. Our commission has begun a vast public outreach campaign traveling throughout the state to formally receive public input regarding your districts and how to best draw them. The same information can be provided through our website anytime at www.wedrawthelines.ca.gov. All input sent via the website is sent directly to each commissioner for evaluation. So if you can't make a public meeting, hop online and be heard. Please go to our website and Facebook page and get informed. There's a lot of information on our website, as well as a record of all the testimony we've received. and schedule meeting dates and agendas for future meetings. And when we do propose a set of draft maps, those too will be available at our website again at www.wedrawlines.ca.gov. With your help and input, we will change California and the nation as pioneers in representational fairness with real power for real people. The end result of our redistricting process will be maps based on nonpartisan legal criteria and in direct consideration of the input we receive from organizations and communities like yours. If we collectively do our jobs, there should be three benchmark outcomes that radically change the political landscape of our state. First of all, fair maps should breed more competitive elections. We as Californians have never been afraid to compete in the open marketplace of ideas, and our representatives should never be so safe that they remain unopposed year after year. Secondly, effective redistricting should lead to more accountability for lawmakers. If communities truly have the power to elect representatives of their choosing, then those that put them in office should equally have the power to take them back out. And lastly, good districts will lead to easier access for you to your lawmakers. If every vote truly is equal, then every voter and their concerns are equally valuable to those that represent them politically. More responsive representation should naturally follow. This is an exciting time. It is rare that you have the chance to make a direct impact in the complex machinery of state democracy, one that will trickle down to affect the daily lives of all Californians. No more politics as usual. It's now time for politics unusual. For me, folks, it all boils down to this. I'm a taxpayer and a voter just like you, and by that very virtue, we all have a say in this. And it only comes one time every 10 years. Please, heed this call to action and get involved. Determine what binds the distinct areas of Orange County and provide input, complete with descriptive boundaries of how you think districts ought to look to best represent DOC. Speak up and speak out, because the California Citizens Redistricting Commission is listening. Thank you for the chance to be here with you today. I appreciate your interest and applaud the work of the Orange County Association of California Cities. The Commission looks forward to receiving input on how to best represent Orange County citizens. Thank you so much.